2 years, I had finally returned to Europe, and I knew where my first destination would be. In the shadow of Germany's highest peak stood a unique structure. It holds 2 world records, one for the longest freespan cable, a distance of over 3 kilometers, and another for the tallest steel cable car tower, at 127 meters, the equivalent of a 30-story building. With just a solitary tower to support the immense weight of the cables, the scale of this object was impressive. That is, when it wasn't obscured by clouds. What should have been a comfortable spring day had been plunged into deep winter by a massive cold front that had swept across Europe. My plan to camp in the base overnight was no longer possible, and what lay ahead was a journey full of challenges and surprises. While most people hike the mountain trails or take the cable car to the summit, I had a more forbidden plan in mind. My journey began in the early hours of the morning. It was -6 degrees and had now been snowing for days. The mountain was covered in a thick blanket of snow. Just reaching the base of the tower was now a challenge, with snowdrifts up to 30 centimeters deep, making the ascent up the mountainside even harder. By the time I reached the top, my shoes were soaking wet and I was already freezing. But I had just one night and turning back wasn't an option. By the time I reached the tower, it was 6 a.m. and first light had already begun. I knew I had a limited window to complete the climb and avoid detection. I was already aware of the CCTV camera on the tower and would just have to hope that nobody was watching. The ladder was covered in ice and snow, and with every step, it creaked. Unlike many ladders, this one had no safety cage, and in these conditions, I had to be careful. As I reached halfway, I could barely feel my hands. Holding the ladder zapped what little warmth I had left. But the scenery made up for it. Behind me, the towering presence of Zugspitz 3,000-meter peak. But the real jewel of this location was Lake Ibsee, with its emerald green glacial waters. It was one of the most surreal climbs I had ever done. Despite my careful planning, it seemed they were preparing the cable car sooner than I had predicted. As they ran the car back and forth to clear ice and snow, the entire tower vibrated. They continued doing this intermittently, and while I had intended to fly the drone, my time was now running out, and so it was time for some photos. And the cable car just started, which is not ideal. I was hesitant to start descending back down due to a previous experience in Switzerland where the first cycle was done without passengers. Okay, so cable car started moving. They're doing their morning tests. I'm gonna try and hide from it as it goes past. Let's hope I don't get caught. Shortly, my fear was realised. The cable car wasn't empty. Instead, it had about 10 workers inside, and it had now stopped. They had seen me. Then, I heard a radio call from within the cable car. I had to get off the tower before staff or police could reach the base. As if things couldn't get worse, I noticed a drawbridge on the side of the tower had just started lowering. They were about to join me, and it was a meeting I had no intention of attending. An operator walked out onto the tower and started yelling out in German. I had never descended a ladder as quickly as that morning. I was now full of adrenaline. A worst-case scenario had now happened, and the fear of losing footage or the legal fallout was a real possibility. I had made it to the base, and thankfully, neither police nor operators were waiting for me. The deep snow meant that accessing the site was impossible except on foot. Soon after, the cable car continued its journey, and so I cautiously returned back to the valley. I was freezing and exhausted, but I had achieved my goal. While reality doesn't always turn out how we hope and plan for, every circumstance gives us new opportunities to find positives. And for me, this unexpected winter wonderland was truly breathtaking. From its glacial lake to the snow-capped trees and harsh mountain peaks. An unspoilt paradise in an ever-fractured world. And as quickly as it all began, I was on to my next adventure.